Hello, you're watching Hotel Designs Live on demand. This session was recorded live at Minotti London on the 10th of August 2021. Enjoy. Hello and welcome back to Hotel Designs Live with me, Hamish Kilburn, the editor of Hotel Designs. And that was Minotti there, really introducing aptly today's session on social spaces. We're broadcasting this edition of Hotel Designs Live from the comfort of Minotti London's contemporary showroom here in Fitzrovia in London. The Italian furniture brand is our headline sponsor, and I urge you to come down and check out their latest furniture collections of both indoor and outdoor pieces. So far today, we've explored sensory design, sleep performance, and just before the break, we brought you an insightful panel discussion on surface design trends and materials. Well, now it's time to round things off with a panel discussion on social spaces. With all the noise around social distancing and regulations against human interaction, we and many of the industry's leaders believe that tomorrow's hotel scene will be a celebration of human connection. While we're at T-junction on the road out of COVID-19 lockdowns, we've invited world-renowned designers to help better understand the challenges and considerations to bear in mind as we reopen the doors to hospitality once more. So without further ado, please welcome Alex Kravetz, founder of Alex Kravetz Design, Charlie MacGregor, the founder of the Student Hotel, and Beth Campbell, the CEO of Campbell House. Hello, everyone. Welcome. You can join us by joining. Here you go, Beth. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Alex. How are we doing?
Hi, Mish.
Doing good.
Wonderful.
Brilliant. So before we start and we really sort of get into social spaces, I want to understand from each of you what inspired you to get into and inspired you on your journey that you're on today. Because I'm guessing there's probably going to be a common denominator here with social spaces. I'm not sure, but Beth, maybe you can start us off and we can go from there.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Hamish. Absolutely. For us, it's an interesting story, and mine is really a long story, but born out of the last 18 months. Just looking and connecting the dots, we were able to put a vision together about a new type of design firm. This global pause has created an industry shift, removed some underperforming organizations, but also opened up gaps. And so inside of that, as our clients transition to smaller in-house teams, we were able to sharpen our goal and, kind of help with them in lowering budgets and take care of this pent-up demand and building personal relationships. But inside of all that is to create an environment that allows our designers to do what they truly want to do, give them the freedom and the platform to allow them to have impact. And so inside of that, we have found some really great clients. We're only 7 months old right now, but we already have over 40 projects on the boards, and all of them are in highly social spaces, many restaurants, even a major corporate workplace project we're doing is they want to transition and get more into connection with social. And so that's what we're finding, and we're seeing that in the hotels as well. So yeah, that's where we are.
It may be a new studio, but it's the wealth of experience that is sheltered under Campbell House is incredible.
Yeah.
Alex, what inspired you to be a designer?
Oh, I'm not sure. Actually, nobody ever asked me that question. What inspired me? I think it always has been pretty much built in. It's been a journey from my childhood, and I think architecture, and then interiors, then theater, then graphics, then photography, and back all the way around. So it's kind of just be, I guess. Yeah. And I think the social aspect, it's an interesting one. You do get to meet a lot of people, you do travel a lot, and that's what makes your life much more interesting. So long live design.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charlie, tell us a bit more about the birth of the Student Hotel and what the concept really was to begin with, and what inspired that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm a little bit the oddball in this hotel world. I started as a student housing company that had to be a hotel due to regulations in Holland, but we also saw an emerging trend of generations coming closer together. Parents really being part of their children's study experience. We also, by coming into the hotel from a different industry, we really looked at it from what do we like as customers? What do we want to have as a hotel experience? And how do we use design to stimulate the behaviors and the interactions between those communities? And I think it's quite interesting when you see when you look at the hotel industry with a fresh pair of eyes, it's quite easy to then disrupt it because you don't have all the legacy of why things happened, and you don't think in the silos, etc., and kind of just put everybody together. But we now embrace long stay, short stay. We have co-living in our spaces. We have co-working in our buildings, extensive co-working. We really encourage the locals to come in to our lobbies, and we have a very hybrid model, which is co-living, co-working in a hotel environment, and very, very energetic spaces because of it.
Yeah. And what I love is that you were really at the curve of that movement in lifestyle, and you sort of preempted what was essentially going to happen, I guess, not with COVID, not with the pandemic, but the way lifestyle was evolving anyway. So it's so great to have you all on the panel, and I'm so great that you all come from different kind of perspectives and angles. So that's brilliant. So earlier today, Beth, you certainly didn't tune in because it's I think it's close to 6 o'clock in the morning where you are right now.
That's
but earlier today, we had a panel discussion on sensory design, and I guess my first question really is to understand how is this demand for sensory design helping to evolve social spaces moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, sensory has always been a big part and big component of design because it's about the full engagement, but even more so today in light of it as we come out of the past 18 months. Obviously, there's music, there's sense, the smell, but we also find that there's going to be some touch elements around it, right? It could be considered the new hero, if you will, of the sensories. Obviously, you have to be careful with that, but it's about pulling those guest experiences together. Because you're going to offer different levels of stimulation, through the smells and through the sounds and the visual experiences. But, and the advantage that hotels have is you could do that in transition spaces as well as in social spaces. So you can actually have it such that it builds the momentum and the experience that'll make it more memorable. So as we see, it's definitely a big part from the visual, the sight and the sound is definitely going to be playing.
And Alex, would you agree, even in like the luxury hotels that you design as well?
Actually, as time goes by, I tend to gravitate more to sensory being the energy emitting kind of spaces. And what is integral to this particular location, architecture, I think they emit a lot of energy. And it's very easy to kind of say, here you socialize and here you don't, but it doesn't really work like that in real world. So I think you really need to feel the space first, understand where the best kind of energy spots are, and then design according to that.
And Charlie, obviously your hotel very much sits in the lifestyle category. What's happening with the lifestyle at the moment? And before the pandemic, there was a shift, I think, and lifestyle was really coming into its own, really sort of taking on a new role on the hospitality arena that I think lifestyle and luxury brands were sort of looking towards and being inspired by. Where is it going now? Where do you think the trajectory is with lifestyle hotels moving forward?
Yeah, good question. I think before the pandemic, we were as a hotel, as a hybrid model hotel with long stay for students, and also mixing 4-star hotel rooms and co-workers, and people didn't really understand us, and were almost, some of the industry was laughing at it a little bit, saying, why would you do this? I think what we've seen with the pandemic is, of course, an appreciation of long stay, a desire or realization that many lobbies are dead spaces after checkout and check-in time, and they're in urban centers where there's a real good customer base around you. So how do we activate those spaces? And what we've been doing is really blurring the lines. Just because we're a hotel doesn't mean that we shouldn't have co-working there. Just because we have long stay guests, how do we connect them all together, and how do we blur the using design? How do we blur the areas together? And coming to what Alex just said, we try to create really we literally draw a heart in our buildings, because we design and develop and build our own buildings as well. Really, where's the beating heart of our lobby, where everybody comes together and everybody sees each other and interacts each other and feels each other's energy, and that's really the essence of our success as a hotel, because hotel customers walk in and they feel a completely different energy in our spaces than they feel in a normal hotel. And we're as close to, people talk to each other, they interact with each other. And I think with COVID as well, we've seen this new generation of corporate travelers as well, where people are digital nomads. They're going to sit and work and play in spaces. And that's really what we're able to offer people, better than I think the traditional model of a hotel.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that reconnection is going to be a huge demand moving forward. People want to, use public areas and lobbies as their space to live and play, as opposed to operational, and it'd be too sort of regulated and hustle and bustle as well. Yeah. And actually, in one of the panel discussions we had earlier on sleep performance, we kind of came to the conclusion that if your check-in experience is that's clashed with rigid moments and it's not fluid, then actually your sleep experience is going to suffer as well, and in fact the whole experience as well. So I think it's about creating that fluid environment. So Alex, I just want to come back to you because actually a few months ago we were having a conversation. You were telling me how you drastically closed the offices when COVID-19 hit and the pandemic hit, and you reopened your studio, arguably from your backyard, from your where you are now, and actually that conversation inspired this this topic. So what I kind of want to know is what do you think are going to be the latest developments moving forward in how we're working as designers, how we'll sort of re-merge back into the studio, but also how we're designing is different. Because one thing to really bear in mind is that regardless of whether we want to talk about COVID-19 or not, it is something that has affected every single person in the world some way or another, however drastic or not. Surely that's going to change people's mindsets on how they design a space, I would argue. I don't know what you think.
Very good question. It's actually quite a few in one go. I think the dramatic shift has happened. Probably not for us because we've been the global nomads for as long as we've been around, since 2003. So the kind of a physical office closure does not necessarily mean it was physically closed. It's reopened, but just in a very different location. We've got 100 square meters of space. It's exactly the same library, same layout table, same pretty much everything else. What has changed, and I think that's probably the very dramatic change coming next, is the perception of where you are and how you work. So there was that kind of shift already happening for a lot of people who, I would say, were between the trips and between the meetings, and they would have a place to kind of land and work. I would question that. How can you be efficient and concentrate on something that you do for a long period of time? Occasional email, occasional something else. That's where I think anywhere is good, whether it's a Costa or a hotel lobby or, I don't know, train station or even the train itself. But I think moving forward, what will be very interesting to see is how the patterns of this travel will change and how the patterns of our work will actually create further opportunities for much more meaningful interaction. It's not just going to the office and, let's say, just being together for the sake of it. It's when we get together, we actually do something constructive, whether we fly, whether we go by train, or whether we meet. A lot of it is now done virtually, just like we are today. You can cram 5 meetings in a day and actually be extremely productive. But I think there is another trend coming. It's the virtual reality of it all. And I think that will be the most challenging part for us, because things will get faster, more immediate, and physical presentations will become probably less and less frequent. That's the next challenge for us as designers.
Yeah. Although I was speaking to a designer the other day on our podcast, actually on Design Pod, and they were saying that Zoom's been brilliant for them, because if they've got a particularly challenging client who will remain nameless, they've only got 40 minutes and then they've got that time and then it's done. Before I reminded her that you can always relink into that link. So you can always rejoin that conversation. Okay, let's talk about workspace then, because it was an area that we spoke about in our last Hotel Designs Live, and it's a real pivotal moment. Charlie, I kind of want to know, when you saw this trend emerging that your consumers, Student Hotel, it kind of says what it does, but really wanted that sort of area to sort of relax and be flexible and work and socialize as well. When did that trend really start emerging for you?
I think quite early on, we knew when I started that we would have students and their mums and dads, and we sort of figured, okay, well, the hotel rooms will rent out to university professors and things like that. And we started very quickly to see different demographics. And there's a famous lady in TSH who was 65 years old, and she was staying in Den Haag. And I very gingerly went up to her and politely asked her, I said, what are you doing staying here? It's surprising. And she said, oh, I stay in all your student hotels. You take my age away. And for her to say that, it was really inspiring. And we sat in our lobbies and we tried to analyze what is it she meant. And what we realized was that the resident, the long stay customers, the students, they stay in our spaces And because they stay there all the time, they exude an energy that's very relaxed. And you get it in members clubs, to be honest. You walk into Soho House and you feel immediately this members clubs, you feel this connection. And as an outsider, you feel it as well. You can almost touch this energy. And because we have a very fixed community, then the hotel customers are able to come in. And that was really for us the moment when we said, okay, let's really go down, let's double down, let's build proper 4-star hotel, and let's become a proper hotel for a certain part of our business. When we went into co-working, we did it as an experiment in 2015 because we thought, well, why should we rent this space to WeWork or Spaces? We're a hotel operator. You know, we've got all this operation staff here. How difficult is it for us to rent and manage a desk and an office? And what we've seen by being, as an owner operator, we're very flexible to just do these experiments. My philosophy, my belief is really, you know, the more people in your community, the more diverse it is, the more interesting it is for people, and the more reason they're going to come back. And I think that's what we saw with the co-working community. Very much, you know, local corporates coming in, and really looking to also add value to the students' life, and the students are looking to take a step into the corporate life. So those communities go very, very well together. And I think for us, it's just being open to, open the door. I mean, the true form of hospitality, just bring everybody in and try and make them have a nice time. And we've seen that that's worked out pretty well for us, luckily. Yeah.
I love that. You take my age away. It really sort of lends me on to my next question, which is cool. It's where when you talk about demographics, I mean, on the outside looking in, people think that hotels are for everyone, but actually when you really sort of investigate hotel brands, they're very specific to demographics. And I guess you can only really create that community that you're talking about, Charlie, through ensuring that you're sort of targeting your target audience to be quite specific, actually. And then that will sort of naturally encourage others to sort of be part of that because they want to be part of that experience. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's an interesting challenge for us at TSH, because we're aware that the student hotel is also becoming a little bit of a blocker sometimes. Would you book a room in the student hotel? Do you feel welcome there, or do you think it's just for students? And when we started, we were a student hotel, and what we've seen now is that we are much, much more than that. So I think that by opening the doors and embracing this community spirit. And then of course we've got digital programming, and we've got all the stuff that sits on top of it to really make sure the community is really thriving. You see that many more people want to be part of your daily ongoings, and I think that becomes a little bit of a positive catalyst where your lobby is always full. There's always something going on. From 7 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. There's people using it at different times of the day for different functions, and that's where we want to be. To sit and open a computer and do an email or have a coffee and catch up with people.
Okay, well let's talk about food and beverage then. So Beth, we'll come to you next. That's a challenge in itself, creating these areas that are social spaces that are flexible, but also they're an outlet that bring in revenue. How is that challenge then design those areas so that they are inviting for anyone to sit down, but also ensure that they channel the right sort of revenue coming in, i.e. sitting down for a coffee or between that? Is that a challenge that you have to identify when designing those areas of the hotel?
It's I wouldn't categorize it as a challenge. It's actually an opportunity, right? It's a way to differentiate, much like Charlie's talking about, and actually even Alex was talking about in their designs. The fact is that it's about embracing that and understanding the demographics and what you're trying to accomplish with the brand, with the location, and how you want to engage. And so inside of that, then you start to play with different levels of engagements, right? Is it dark, and is it completely fixed? Is there flexibility? Can you change the lighting so it goes from breakfast and lunch to a dinner space, or can it flex from a coffee shop to kind of that bistro feeling where you're feel comfortable to come in and pop your laptop and start working and have coffee during the afternoon, and then it quickly converts. You grab a glass of wine and then you can step in and have some dinner. And so that's really where we see the direction coming, particularly for food and beverage inside of hotels. It's about bringing it all together, stitching it all together, as Charlie had mentioned. The fact is that it's about connecting to the community as well as to your guests at the same time. So it's a wonderful opportunity, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to go live to our product watch pitch segment in just a few moments' time. But before we do, we're just going to ask one more question, and it's a big one. So prepare yourselves. But cannot talk about social spaces without talking about social media. And Charlie, I'm kind of steering towards you because I think your brand has evolved thanks to social media, but also there's I think some challenges there, or opportunities, as you say, Beth, moving forward, because social media only captures a very small part of what you're doing, and the branding behind the hotel therefore has to be so strong. What are your what were you looking at the moment in social media, and how has this sort of helped the brand become what it is today?
Yeah, I mean, social media is super important, of course, especially, I mean, we're targeting the millennials and Gen Z. So, you know, we're focused very much on that demographic. You know, it starts to get quite complex, of course, the more hotels you have, and then you know, what I want to try and do, we've now got 30 hotels. You know, we want to be very true to ourselves, and we want to make sure that when you walk into a TSH, you know that the space has really been developed honestly and to the best of our ability. And by owning our own assets and developing our own assets, it means that we're really able to bring a level of authenticity. And you can't translate that to social media. But, you know, what we focus on social media, and our main campaign there is to really try and bring awareness of what our community are doing, because they're all there to further their purpose, whether they're a student, whether they're a co-worker, or whether they're a co-liver. You know, they're all there to do something, whether that's a 3-month internship with Nike or whatever it is. So I think that's where we try to use social media to highlight those people, so that's a good example of what's going on in our community.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting to get loads of adverts from the student hotel now, because I've been talking about it. My phone's probably listening.
Your phone's listening.
It's terrifying how the devices work these days. Alex, from your perspective, having sort of gone through that era with social media and see it evolve, what have been the specific areas that have changed the way in which you design social spaces in a pure in relation to social media's evolution?
I think it very much depends on the type of hotel and the clientele that you're going to pull, and different clients have different social media aspirations, and I guess they even post different things. So I think it's very much target kind of based. If it's a younger and more buzzing city crowd, that's obviously one direction. But if you're designing a spa retreat somewhere in the country, that will be very different. So you just
of course.
Use different tools for different audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads us really nicely into talking about community. But we're going to go now live to our product watch pitch partners. So if our speakers wouldn't mind just switching off their cameras and muting their microphones, and we'll invite our product watch pitch partners. And we're going to start with a video from Vaughan, a pitch from them.
Thank you very much, Hamish, for the lovely introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thomas, and I work in the Hotel and Contracts team here at Vaughan, and I just wanted to say a few words about who we are and what we do. So we are a high-end UK lighting supplier founded 37 years ago. All our products are wired and assembled in our warehouse in Winchester in Hampshire. We are renowned for the craftsmanship and exceptional quality of our products, as we still use traditional manufacturing methods, which not only make our products beautiful, but also durable. At Vaughan, we have a specific team dedicated to commercial projects. We work closely with specifiers and procurement companies from around the world on large-scale orders. Our lights have been featured in hotels and restaurants, both in the UK and overseas, and we often work with hotel groups such as the Four Seasons Group, Soho House, or the Oetka Collection. So to illustrate today's theme about social spaces, I thought I'd share some pictures of our lights with you. So here, for example, you can see our glass chandeliers, which have been featured in restaurants. So this is our Leamington chandelier. In the middle, this is our Valère chandelier, and this is our Sorbonne chandelier. So you will find more information about those products by clicking on the links that I'm going to mention in the chat box now. In this bar at the St. Ermines, you can see our Phoenix wall light, which is made of solid cast brass and is then bronze plated. And our table lamps are often featured in receptions or lobbies. So here, for example, you could see our Woodville table lamp in bronze on the reception desk and our Hardwick table lamps in bronze in this lovely little sitting area. So this concludes my presentation for today. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop me an email. You will find my contact details in the chat box now. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Thomas, from Vaughan there. And I think Vaughan is a really excellent example of craftsmanship, a British brand that is using craftsmanship to really sort of take lighting to a more decorative era. And we've done a lot with Vaughan. We've covered a lot of their case studies as well, including very exciting projects coming up, which I think includes Glen Eagles, but I'm not going to say that too loudly just in case that's wrong, but always a good one. Next up, we have Brandon from Leaf-like. Hi, Brandon. How are you doing?
Very well. Hamish.
And is that one of your own installations behind you?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're tuning in from Uncommon Leaf-like.
Brilliant.
Uncommon Liverpool Street, rather, in London.
Amazing. So over to you, Brendan.
Thank you, Hamish. So I'm Brandon Abernethy, head of design at Leaf-like. And yeah, today tuning in from Uncommon Liverpool Street. Truly an organisation that truly understands the ROI of incorporating biophilic design and planting into their social spaces, and truly with a passion for a sustainable planting scheme. And with over 20 years of experience, Leaf-like has helped develop and really enhance arrival experiences of hotels across the UK. From reinstating the Palm Court at the Waldorf to providing recycled Christmas trees made out of wine bottles, to enhancing the arrival experience at the Savoy, to green walls, to village hotels across the UK, and really incorporating all types of planting, from green walls to interior plants to exterior plants. We provide everything for our clients, and a privilege to be working with some of the best hotels in the UK, naming the all-new Pan Pacific London, and we are literally in the process of installing their plants day one today, and looking forward to their opening on the 1st of September, along with the Lifestyle Hotel, the Westin, and the Canopy by Hilton. And so we're here today, ready to turn any vision into reality. Thank you.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Brandon. I can't wait for the Pan Pacific Hotel to launch. We've covered quite a lot on that in regards to wellness, and it's great that you guys have been specified to really inject some biophilic experiences in those spaces. Moving on now to Peter from Luciana. Hi, Peter. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. How about yourself?
Brilliant. All good, thank you. All good. Over to you with your pitch.
Sure. Yeah, quick hello and very, very warm welcome to everyone. My name is Piotr Seminski, and I'm Luciana Head of Sales for UK market. I would like to start with a brief presentation of Luciana as a company. We are a global lighting company with 92 years of great history. Luciana offers 4 lighting brands: Troll, Metal Arte, Sagelux, and Josfel. Here's a few important facts from Luciana history. In 1932, Metal Arte, one of the world's most famous decorative lighting brand, was created. 1961, Luciana discovered and patented first electrical truck light system. And 1974, the Troll brand is created. Luciana R&D team collaborates with one of the world's famous architects and designers, just to name a few: Jean Nouvel, George W. Hansen, James Heian, Andrew Ricard, and Carlos Alvarez. Luciana has vast of experience and resources to quickly develop customized lighting products for your project. We also offer full range of lighting design services. For the contribution of the implementation of unique lighting products, Luciana received the following awards: Design Plus Award, IF World Design Guide Award, 2018 Decorative Table Lamp of the Year, and Delta Association ADI 2020 Award. Our recent hotel projects are Grand Hyatt Cairo in Egypt, Barceló Raval Hotel in Barcelona, Iberostar Hotel in Cancun, Mexico, Catalonia Hotel in Barcelona, and Tsh Hotel in Berlin. On the other hand, Luciana were able to implement lighting solutions on very prestigious projects such as Sagrada Familia Basilica in Barcelona. And on the other hand, all Zara stores around the world are lighted up by lighting from Luciana. I would like to thank you for your attention. I would like to invite you to consider cooperation with Luciana and have a wonderful day.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. And to all of our product watch pitches. So Luciana are going to be producing one of our editorial pieces in the next couple of days. So if you want to know more about some of their case studies and their work, then head over to the Hotel Designs website. We'll be covering that. And lighting really is an area that we want to focus on with social spaces now. So I want to welcome back our speakers. If you could just share your cameras and unmute your microphones. And just while they're doing so, just wanted to let you know that if you've got any questions for our panelists, you can do so in the Q&A function at the bottom of your window. Also, if you want to leave a chat, I know that some of our Product Watch pitch partners are just sharing some links so you can request more information about their products. You can have a look at that as well. So welcome back, everyone. So yeah, lighting. The two Product Watch pitch partners were lighting suppliers. So let's talk about lighting. How can we create boundaries in social spaces without them looking too much like boundaries? And I'm assuming lighting sort of plays a role in this. Alex, I kind of want to steer towards you to start with this, with the four spotlights above your head.
Lighting is becoming more and more important to actually creation of all the spaces, and sort of being stage designer in my very old career. I think you can build spaces with light, and now you can also separate them one from another. You can also change the mood as the day goes by, and you kind of go from breakfast to lunch to dinner and all the work in between. As Beth was saying about some of the fluid spaces that she's working on. That's kind of a transition, not only throughout the day, but also in the mood and the setting of those spaces. So the mise-en-scene creation is paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. And Beth, you mentioned when we were talking about F&B spaces that the lighting can change, and that's a really great way to create those different atmospheres. When you're creating those social areas in like a lifestyle hotel, for example, and you're looking at lighting to really sort of differentiate that hotel from others, what are you looking for when you're specifying products? That's a quite difficult question, I'm sorry, but I'm just intrigued to know. It's off the cuff.
No, it's actually, I appreciate it off the cuff, and it's a great question. We are absolutely looking at, obviously you want the light quality, but you need the aesthetics of it too. So it's that balance between a product that will work for the operations of the hotelier, but at the same time, we want it to be aesthetically pleasing, and then have the flexibility that Alex was speaking of that allows you to segue maybe between, breakfast to lunch to dinner. But then also at the same time, you want a product that has quality, that has, that is known to be able to last and stand. Because if we're recommending it to somebody like Charlie, he's obviously going to want the day two operations to be really strong. So it's really kind of touching on those three key points is what we're looking for when we're picking products.
Yeah, that was my next question, really, Charlie. From a developer's perspective, what would you be looking at when a designer sort of pitches you various products of lighting in your hotels, and what works as well? I mean, you must have, with the hotels that you've launched, seen what works and what potentially doesn't, and what you wouldn't do again.
Yeah, it can get super complex lighting, and for very good reasons. I think we try to keep it as simple as possible, but lighting is key to really creating a good vibe and making sure you're aware of what the energy is at that specific time, and the lighting should be able to adjust. I do think that there's an element that's coming in with lighting, which is sound and sound dampening. Given that a lot of people now are looking for Zoom calls and working on the move, if you don't have the right sound insulation, then suddenly the amount of seating you have is limited, because people will take up a table for four just to be alone. So I think if you're able, there's some really interesting lighting coming out now, which has got very good sound insulation capabilities, and you're able to use this as a sort of zone breaker and a privacy screen and light. I mean, think this is going to be a really interesting evolution in how to divide up your space going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And also sound, particularly not just to create acoustics, but actually to create a whole new sense of experience when you check in, and that subliminal sounds that you don't really think about as a consumer, that can actually really channel, if it's a wellness hotel, for example, can really channel that experience from the moment you check in. And it's certainly something we've been looking at and really impressed with some of the designers and architects that put forward those concepts. Biophilic design has come into the conversation all throughout the day. It's clearly a conversation that's right at the top of people's agenda. How are you as designers and owners, how are you utilizing biophilic design to make sure that you're blending the interior and exterior in? It's just an open question to all.
I'd be happy to jump in and start on it.
Go
I'm
for
sure
it.
Charlie and Alex have a lot to say on the topic as well, because it is extremely important. And I can tell you over the last few months, as you can imagine, we've been doing a lot of pitches and a lot of conversations as we're launching our new brand. But the fact is the only common denominator, every single organization that we speak to wants to talk about well-being. And so well-being plays into well buildings, it plays into, the eco-friendly, it plays into sustainability. So it's a balance between them all. And so with all of them, we are talking about biophilia. We are talking about, the fresher air, the greenery, how it changes the pulse and the vibe of the space and makes it more engaging. And so, an organization like Leaflike is amazing, because we want to work with somebody like that that's a specialist that can help us to talk about, here again, the great design solutions that build buildings and well-being, but at the same time allows for operational ease, as the property continues to flow.
Alex, did you want to sort of add anything to that?
I'm actually trying to think how to respond to this. Biophilia became a little bit of a common denominator for wellness.
Yeah, I agree.
Lately, and it's being completely overused in many interiors. You kind of become more of the same. It's kind of blending nature.
Alex, it's probably in our articles it's overused. I think I use the phrase every day.
Yeah. Well, maybe it is, but I think you will follow the trend. So I think I would be very careful using biophilia moving forward. I think we kind of are at the borderline of a very big shift in our behavior, and I think it's already being picked up by the government's conversation, trying to get people back into the office. Well, it's not particularly easy if you've been out on the nature kind of trail for the last 18 months. So getting back to the office and seeing artificial plants or maybe live plants is just not the solution. I think the wellness part, is definitely one of the most important aspects. And I think, Beth, you said a very good word, space. I think that space is what we are all probably are striving to achieve, somewhere where you feel good, somewhere you can function, whether it's your leisure time or your work time. And Charlie, I kind of liked what you said earlier about the sound dampening. If you want to go and work somewhere, you actually need to have some kind of a space to concentrate. And I'm banging on about it because you can do occasional things, but I don't think you can actually do in a concentrated fashion something very productive or something very creative. So that's kind of a biophilia 360. Sitting under the palm tree, great, but if it's noisy, you can't do many things, including just a conversation.
Yeah. I think actually when we talk about acoustics, this is a great example, this showroom, Minotti London. So we're actually hosting this from one corner. We've got a slight barrier, but we can see all the way through the showroom. And then there's the office that operates, and there are people walking in and out the whole time. And I don't know about you, but it doesn't seem like we're being disturbed at all. So yeah, I completely agree. It's about creating those spaces and keeping them private to an extent and practical to use as well. Charlie, so you were really ahead of the curve when you launched the student hotel, but I'm really interested to understand what's changed in the landscape of hotel developments from then to now that you've noticed most apparently?
What's changed? Yeah, I mean, you know, I knew that the student housing sector needed to be disrupted, and I had a very clear idea of what we wanted to do to do that. And that was creating common spaces. It was really trusting our clients with material they could break and destroy and stuff like that, and really empowering them. And we've been paid back tenfold by trusting that community. I didn't know much about the hotel industry, and what I've discovered is that it was also massively in need of disruption. You know, the whole technology, the way that the industry's grown was really just making sure the rooms were having a quick turnover, the customers, you know, check in, check out, happy days, servicing them breakfast, the holy grail. And I guess I looked at it from just my own experience and said, yeah, this is actually pretty dull. And you know, why can't the food and beverage, you know, I mean, it's even food and beverage. I mean, it's such a hotel term, and it's crazy, you know, you go speak to a restaurant owner and he doesn't think he's in the food and beverage sector. So, but his restaurant's buzzing from morning till night, you know, how do we get that sort of mentality into your hotel lobbies? So I think, as I said earlier, we've been liberated by coming into the industry without being born in the industry. And really able to put the customer back in the center, really able to using design to stimulate the behavior we want. And you know, I have a bit of a fight with designers many times, because the spaces we want them to look great when it's full of people. And of course, you know, from not all designers, of course, they want the space to look great when it's just been delivered and it's pristine and it's not being used, and let's hope there's no ugly people coming to sit in my beautiful design. And we're really looking for practical spaces and really looking to create that best form of energy and really let it flourish and enable connections, and people can do whatever they want, wherever they want, whenever they want in our spaces. And so I think that we've seen a shift in the sector trying to embrace that. It's difficult for the big players. I mean, they've got a totally different business model from us. So it is very difficult to bring back that individualization and focus on customers, genuine focus on customers. It's really hard for the big guys, I think.
Yeah, Beth, that leads me really nicely to talk about the Accor Design Awards. So you were the head judge of this year's awards. And just for those who don't know, the awards really is for students pitching ideas and concepts. One of the really beautiful things about it, in my opinion, is that it really just taps into raw talent and also raw opportunities and concepts that haven't really been explored to the point of brand standards or, you know, something actually being realistic. I mean, there were floating hotels and all sorts in those entries. But do you think that we should be doing more to listen to those disruptive opinions and concepts that come out that aren't born from, you know, really considered plans in design studios?
Yeah, I'd say the short answer is yes, absolutely. Much like Charlie has brought, a fresh perspective to hotel ownership and operations and to actually engagement, these new graduates are also bringing a fresh perspective into design. And so I think it's incumbent on us as senior leaders to make sure that we're always looking to the future, because I think our true legacy is in building people, not just building spaces. And so as these designers and creatives come out of university, they have such a passion and excitement for the future of design. And I think that we as senior leaders must collectively and actively ensure that the environment that we create embraces their desire to make changes, while we're providing enough reality to keep them grounded, right? A lot of those ideas that came out of the design competition will be actually activated and put in place. Some will not, but they will be in pieces and parts. So I think it's up to us is to allow them to push the envelope, but then give them, the right career development opportunities so that they, can stay that passionate creative player, but also understand that the application to reality, sometimes you have to get grounded. So, and through the Accor Design Awards, it was such a fantastic opportunity. I'm not sure everybody's aware how much they put into that. It's a complete commitment from their full organization. It takes probably 5-6 months to put in place. It's a very big activity, but through that and exposure to that Hamish, you and I had was, you just feel like the future's in very capable hands.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Alex, what do you think are going to be the main disruptors moving forward when we're designing social spaces? Again, it's an off-the-cuff question.
Love the question, actually. In fact, my personal view is that I think we're going to kind of split into two directions from here. There will be a very strong, probably brand-driven, this is what you do and this is how you do it. And then there will be a lot of individualists who will say, and this is what I want to do. And I think you can see this developing already. It's that shift in sort of a social kind of scene, you know, where people cling together and do things together. And then there are people that actually go completely the opposite way. So I think that's the biggest disruptor that is coming.
Mm-hmm. Charlie, you seem to be the man with your crystal ball. What's going to happen next, do you think? Where do you think social spaces are going to evolve into 10 years from now, say?
Yeah, I think they're going to be very community driven, and connection is going to be key. I mean, you know, we really believe that people do want to be together, and that's not taking away from virtual and the huge shift that we all embrace. That's definitely here to stay, but people will want to be together. I think what we saw was a shift on valuing experience is definitely here to stay. And if you're able to, and I think blending of spaces just by on the revenue, you know, if you've got a diversified top line revenue, that's a better for any hotel, as we've seen in this pandemic. I think when you blend spaces, you're able to really connect with the local neighborhoods and activate your spaces, and that's just also good business sense. But that means you're focusing very much on who is my community, what are they wanting, how do I serve them, how do I really add value to them. And I think, you know, it's interesting when we look at the hotel industry, just to talk about the Accors of the world, you know, these big hotel owners, they make a strategic move to say, okay, I want to get into this sector. So they start buying the Hoxtons, the 25 Hours of the world. And, you know, we got to ask ourselves, what do they do with these brands? Do they really help take these brands from A and really add value to them? Or do they jump on top of these brands and kind of just then industrialize them and take away the spark a little bit? And I think that's something that's you know, great for us at the moment, because we own our own assets and we're independent and we're very small, but it means that we can be very authentic. But you know, what is a healthy industry to be in, and how do we make sure that we're really encouraging hotel operators and owners to be unique and to hold on to that sort of uniqueness. So quite an interesting decade ahead of us, I think, in the industry.
No, for sure. And I think also just on that point, you know, sustainability is huge as a buzzword, and we use the term greenwashing. And I think it can almost be seen the same when we talk about, you know, connecting the neighborhood with travelers, and actually it's not a cookie cutter approach, but these large brands are somewhat restricted by their standards to ensure that it kind of is a cookie cutter approach. Yeah. How do we then, and this is an open question to everyone, how do we create that connection with the neighborhood in an authentic way? Does design have a role in this? I don't know, Beth, what do you think?
I absolutely, design has a role in it in partnership with the operations. It's about it's about stitching it together. It has to be very authentic, and obviously it changes for each construct, right? The tapestry and fabric that you're working in has to be brought forth. And so inside of that, you know, the design solutions have to really be in tune. We're designing, it's for a big brand, but the developer wants to put in a nice restaurant in a neighborhood in Charleston, South Carolina. And so we're going to go down, and actually the design team's going to spend a week they're going to work remotely from there, but just to be a part of the neighborhood so they can actually really start to feel what needs to happen, what's the right solution, what the right moment is. And I had worked with Fairmont years ago in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, and they were vehement that you weren't going to have TVs or beer on tap. And I'm like, this is a steelworking town, stay for the weekend. And on Monday, they were like, beer taps and TVs it is. And the fact is you really have to get ingrained. You can't make a decision from Manhattan or from your office in DC. You have to actually go and sit and be part of the space to really understand it, to appreciate it, and then listen to the locals. So that's how we're
totally. I mean, we had Diana Espacio from Six Senses Hotels and Resorts, and she was saying, I think it was due to the pandemic as to why it was so long, but she was 3 months in Ibiza, just seeing, feeling the area, and I think that really changed the inspiration and changed some of the details towards the end of the overall design scheme, and also the hospitality as well, because it really had to fit fit in really, and sort of like feed a demand that's not already there or already being fed in an island like Ibiza that's so well known. Okay, is it tricky to integrate the neighborhood in the luxury hotels? It seems as if lifestyle hotels, they have these buzzing social areas that are great, that naturally then evoke fun people to experience them. Is that difficult for the luxury hotels to replicate that, or to take anything from that and include that into their hotels to ensure that they stay relevant and not just become sort of distant and forgotten in the past? Alex, maybe you can touch upon that.
I think we actually talk about the same thing. The individualistic, when I say individualistic, I don't mean one single person. I actually mean kind of an approach to everybody as an individual. And I think, Charlie, you kind of said that, you are not looking at a mass manufactured kind of industrialized model. You're looking at individuals, and they're bringing in what they think is going to work in that specific location, that specific community. Beth, you just said exactly the same, right? Go to the location, feel the community, and then bring that thing in. It's exactly the same for the culture. It's exactly the same for the colors. It's exactly the same for the style. It's actually all of these things. So if you want to feel the space, go there, see it, feel it, design afterwards. But the prescriptive approach is not what will work. And I think that's where I come from, my individualistic perspective. It's basically the same formula.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are running out of time, so I have one more question, and that's in the last year, what have you learned most about the industry and where it's going, where it's evolving? What are you most excited about moving forward?
Can I kick off? Happy to
go for it, Charlie.
For us, I'm really excited, to be honest. I mean, this great pause, as Beth said, has been a really good opportunity for us to really review where we've come from, where we're going to. We've managed to prove the hybrid model. So this year we've reduced our exposure to the hotel market, and we've filled our rooms with long stay students and young professionals. We've seen that our co-working is very robust as well during the pandemic. So we feel we've proved the hybrid model. So happy days. That's a big thing for us. And I think we see an acceleration of many trends in the digital nomads, the new generation. We need to come up with a better term of corporate traveler. The ones that are really looking for a vibrant place to be working instead of some crappy office room with equipment that doesn't work and stuff. So I think we've seen that the industry and the customer trends are moving in our direction. The exciting part for TSH is, okay, what is our next step? We see a lot of the competition copying our design, very literally sometimes, which is fantastic. It's a great form of flattery. But what do we do next? So I think watch this space in the next 12 months. There's going to be some quite interesting developments at TSH to really take a conscious step into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex, will you be going back to the office, or are you going to be hunkering down where you are right now?
The office is no more in the old-fashioned kind of sense. But again, for us, it was historical. It's not a new business model. What everybody else will probably be pretty much doing from now on. I would say for us, it's a maybe accelerated way of working in a very different way. Faster, more efficiently, more hands-on. I think I love that. We see a lot of wellness emerging that is probably going to make a big shift in the, let's say, hospitality modeling, which hotel is going to be where. I think more local communities are going to come together locally rather than travel. that will be a big disruptor as well. And I think you will find yourself working in many spaces that you've never worked before. That is the exciting part. And actually, for me personally, great, let's have it.
Yeah, wonderful. And Beth, well, new studio, new company. What are you looking forward to in the next couple of months?
Yeah, it's just been a big adrenaline rush. I'm sure Alex knows very well. And actually, Charlie, you guys have both launched new brands in the recent past. And so for us, we are very much a nomadic tribe here. We are all 100% remote. That's going to change. And as Alex was talking about, we're looking more into design hubs, which will have smaller touchdown spaces. But even to the point that Charlie was talking about, why wouldn't we, Campbell House, look to have a relationship with a hotel brand and just use spaces there, right? Where we can have, we're in LA, Vegas, New York, and Paris right now. And so why would we not want to have a relationship where we could scale up, use conferencing centers or meeting rooms in hotels, as well as having workspace there. So along with the social spaces. So for us, it's a very exciting time, and to see, the evolution, just as we were born from the pandemic, so are a lot of these independent hotels, such as, the Student Hotel. They're really pushing the envelope, and they're really fun to work with. And so we're seeing a lot of that come out, as well as a lot of renovations. So we're very excited about the future, and there's a lot happening.
Absolutely.
Agility. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And for me, it's just so exciting to be narrating it all. So I look forward to seeing what comes out of all of this. That is all we've got time for. Beth, Charlie, Alex, thank you so much for joining us and wrapping up Hotel Designs Live for us today. It's been a really, really meaningful conversation. And just to remind you that you'll be able to catch this session on demand on the Hotel Designs website in just a few weeks' time. That is all we've got time for. So I wanted to thank our headline sponsor, Minotti, all of our product watch pitch partners. I want to thank Minotti London specifically for allowing us to use their fabulous showroom as our venue. We've just taken over today. It's been brilliant. And don't forget the Britlist Awards 2021 nominations and applications are still open until tomorrow, end of play. It's all free to apply. And finally, we will be live in person for the award ceremony on November the 3rd at Proud Embankment. So we all deserve a good party. Everyone who has followed us on this journey with Hotel Designs Live, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing everyone very soon. Take care.